So, Michael, we got to this point. What is cannabis doing for you?
For me, it's doing a couple things. So first of all, it's keeping a roof over my family's head and putting food in their mouth, which is awesome. It's reinvigorated me, and it truly the first job that I can say that I really love coming to work every day, which is amazing. I feel very proud of us as a group that we are providing a life for 50 employees and their family, one of which is me. It's been an amazing whirlwind of 2 years for me, and I only looking forward positively to what's coming. We have such a great team here, and we're going to be making a big impact here in Arizona.
What is cannabis doing for you?
Put some dog tags together, man.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, welcome back to PV Unfiltered. It's been a little bit, I think. You're not noticing it because we had a bunch of backlog, but it's actually been a little over a month since we sat in front of the camera and microphone. So we are, and it is still the same #1 cannabis podcast in the nation. So listen, welcome to Michael O'Brien, CEO of Sonoran Roots. And he's got a bit of a background here that you would not really say is cannabis, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm not the most interesting man alive, but I might be the most interesting man in the building of 50 people right now.
But he is growing the beard to be the most interesting man.
Exactly.
My shit just doesn't grow right. You know?
Yeah.
So listen, let's go through a little background and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes on this.
For sure.
Did I say meat and potatoes?
Yeah.
Fuck. It has been a while.
Yeah.
I'd never use that. No, because I was reading about you and whatnot. Law school, right?
Yep. Law school. Yeah. Kind of an interesting journey for me. So I kind of went right through school. I grew up in Arizona, native of Arizona, and went to school for finance and realized pretty quickly I did not want to be involved in finance on a day-to-day basis.
Uh-huh.
So quickly, in fact, that I went straight into law school afterwards. So I kind of took a twisting path. My sister is an attorney as well. And
was that like one of these, like a drive-by finance?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Pretty much. I just wasn't, I'm good with numbers, but I wasn't happy to sit there and be crunching numbers all day for sure. So I kind of wanted to have a little bit more of a, I guess I'd say like a front-facing interaction with people than just.
You didn't want to be the drummer.
I didn't want to be the drummer.
No, you want to be fucking up in front.
Exactly, dude. So, so I ended up going straight to law school, and I did so I went to New York University School of Law, did the whole big law firm thing in New York and LA, and then got a really good opportunity to come back to Arizona right around the time my wife and I were getting married. And I got an opportunity to go in-house counsel at a small venture capital firm that was founded by a couple of ex-CEOs of a Fortune 500 company in Arizona. So that was really a big step for me in terms of moving over to the business side of things, which is always kind of what I wanted to do.
Was that like a relationship-based situation where you knew the people, somebody somehow got in, or was it something that was like applied for, or was it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. So the law firm I was working at was working for the Fortune 500 company that they were part of.
Gotcha.
And I did some work and ended up meeting the guys. And then they said, hey, we're actually looking for some in-house legal counsel. And the partner I was working for at my firm said, hey, you're from Arizona, right? These guys are based in Arizona. Do you have any interest? And so we just kind of put the pieces together and ended up working out.
Wow. So it was almost like a big trade.
Yeah, it was like a trade. It was like, Alex Rodriguez from, the Rangers to the Yankees kind of thing, but on a much smaller scale, obviously. So
the numbers were a little bit more crunched.
A little bit more crunched, yep. But so I did that, and then I was always kind of doing work for them on the business side. They introduced me to some of their friends and family, and I started doing some side deals for people, and I ended up reconnecting with one of my really good childhood friends who had gone off and become very successful in the manufacturing business. And he had me doing some little side deals locally and connected me with one of my current partners, Jeremy, who was already in the cannabis industry in Arizona. And I had no experience in cannabis law, business, anything like that. And quite frankly, I hadn't smoked in about 20 years.
That's what I was just getting ready to ask you, is like, any affiliation at all in cannabis?
Zero whatsoever, other than just having a buddy. And I started doing some little, administrative type legal work for him. And we were talking and just kind of got more and more familiar and said, hey, this thing clearly has some legs on it. And so we ended up reconnecting with the manufacturing buddy and putting this deal together, and found a site for a dual dispensary and cultivation location, had a really high level grower associated with us, and it took off very quickly. So we founded the company in August of 2018. We closed on a property in November of 2018.
In Arizona?
In Arizona. Yep. The one I'm sitting in right now. So we're, our big first facilities here in Mesa. And we had a partnership deal with Territory Dispensary. They have multiple locations here in Arizona. And we ended up scraping this property down, building from the ground up, 2.35 acre site. It's 33,000 square feet of production space with a retail dispensary on it as well. And
wow.
We opened in March of 2020, right in the midst of COVID, and really very blessed, hit the ground running, right out of the gate, and things have just been going great. I think overall people would say cannabis has increased during the coronavirus time. So
yeah, I mean, really interesting on that end of it, because once again, as we were talking before we started, and I'm sure Tommy will put this in, but people are tired, man. They're tired of everything, and the COVID shit's just there's a lot of different views on it, and I think it's become really abusive, if I could put that in the word. And the Riverside sheriff, my wife and I were looking at going to dinner in San Diego, and everything's shut down again. And some friends were like, come up to Temecula. And it's like, well, if I'm going to drive up to have dinner at someone's house, and do the mask thing and all this, I'm just not interested.
Sure.
And they're like, no, we're open. I'm like, what do you mean you're open? And they're like, our town's open. We went up there and we had one of the best nights in a long time. Even if we're open here, it was like 2.5 hour wait at all the restaurants in Temecula. Mm-hmm. And then the old town Temecula had full Christmas theme going on, giant tree in the middle. Everybody's going around. I mean, it was just like so much fun. And it was such a relief to know that was taking place. And maybe we're going to get that, throughout all these other areas. But kind of backtracking, now you started a company in the midst of the beginning of COVID, and now are excelling across the board. How blessed are you and us to be in that situation in a business that, isn't federally legal, but, is on the border as we look at it.
Yeah.
And then to look around and have family and friends that are losing their businesses in this thing. It's like, it's bittersweet. And I can say this, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, we look back and we literally had, I'm a huge proponent of, creating your own luck. And my dad always told me, he said, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And so preparation and hard work meets opportunity. And I've always taken that, and so when we're doing this business, and building this site, obviously we have no idea COVID's coming, right? So we're going through this construction project largely in 2019. And it first popped up in Asia, obviously, and we started hearing about it here in the States in December, I believe, of 2019. Yeah. All of a sudden, it was like, we're around the corner from opening, and stuff is starting to get weird and tight. And we were able to push through with the state regulating agencies and get open. And then there was a really uncomfortable week where we didn't know if we were going to be deemed like an essential business that was allowed to stay open.
Right.
And thank God for, Arizona being a medical only market at the time, because I think the fact that we're medical allowed the regulators to justify like, hey, we can't shut down doctors, we can't shut down pharmacies, we can't shut down medical marijuana either.
Yeah.
And so we lucked out huge in that, but it was also because we pushed the gas pedal and got this thing done. and we've definitely experienced some ups and downs, particularly with you're federally required to allow people to take COVID time off and pay them for that. And we, of course, our employees are extremely important to us. They've all been super flexible, worked hard for us, and I don't think we've had anybody abusing it. But it's a scary time when you go, hey, I don't know if my workforce is going to wiped out, and I got 15,000 plants in the facility that need to be tended on a day-to-day basis, right? So that's scary. Cultivation, so much can go wrong over a 12-week period.
Oh yeah.
And we absolutely fortunate and blessed, like you said, to not experience any major hiccups. And then I think to your point, we've had Arizona, I think, is the worst place in the country right now for coronavirus. If I am up to speed on the news as of today, but the dinner thing, it's like, I think the one good thing I'm trying to take from this is at the very beginning when we were really shut down here in Arizona, I think everybody kind of refocused on their priorities and family, which is a nice thing. And then I have noticed that the couple times I've gotten to go out to dinner, I've really, really enjoyed it and savored it and enjoyed the moment, because I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to get to do this again. So me and my wife have gone out and like, man, this is the best meal ever and this and that. I don't really know if it is.
Yeah, it probably wasn't.
The fact that we haven't done it for 2 months makes it seem so much more,
right,
impactful. So,
yeah, I mean, so are you guys shut down?
We are not shut down, but I suspect we will be in some limited capacity soon. I know my gym owner, I go to a CrossFit gym, and so I talk to him regularly. It's not like a big corporate gym, and he's very worried we were shut down. And I think the restaurants are still open for us with masks and all that kind of stuff. I don't even believe there's a statewide mask mandate yet. It's individual cities, but with the numbers, the way that they're being reported right now, I'm expecting it any day, honestly.
It's crazy. So we actually bought a house over Lake Havasu about 4 months into COVID. And the reason being was, we're really fortunate in that way. It was kind of the only place we could go to enjoy the weekends and week away from this and being open. I'm over there all the time.
Yeah,
literally, I'm spending Christmas and New Year's over there. Never have we. Yes, you can wear a mask if you want. Some restaurants say wear a mask to the table. Have this, but it's never been shut down.
Yeah,
and I think just everybody's going to go through this. I don't know how many employees you have had with it. I'm going to say we just finished up the last part of our whole upstairs office having it just this last week. And then we've probably had 30 or 40 of 100 people downstairs.
Who've actually tested positive. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And
shockingly, I'm going to knock on this table here.
Don't say it.
Zero, man.
Don't do it.
And the closest we had was a contractor who I actually borrowed his truck to pick up some bins, and I rode in his truck like the day he went out with COVID and touched everything he had, and miraculously I didn't get it either. But it's I feel like it's a matter of time. We're taking precautions at the facility as much as we can.
Right.
And for me, it's as a business owner, I talk to the employees all the time. I go, look, you don't have to agree with what we're doing. I don't know how effective masks, hand sanitizer, all this kind of stuff is. What I do know is that we can't afford to have, 15 or 20 of you guys be out at the same time. So we're going to pretend like this stuff works and keep our fingers crossed, and do our best.
No, that's great. And on our part, it has been this pretty much the same thing from the get-go. We do the best that we can as far as cleaning. We have somebody that takes your temperature all day long, and and even then, which is really kind of funny, but not. The temperatures are taken every day, and literally we had 5 people go out with COVID. After the temperatures, nobody ever had a fever. I had it 4th of July, and didn't know that I had it. And, it was the beginning side of that, and it was like 24 hours where I never had a cough. I never had any of those symptoms in that way. I honestly thought I had anxiety, but nonetheless, everybody's going to go through it. It's my neighbors just had it. And I saw them for the first time in 8 days, and they were walking to the mailbox and said that was the most exercise they've had. And we do CrossFit at our house, and they're usually over there for that. And so they're pretty excited to get back into that. But nothing I know of is in anybody for us that's been real crazy. Anything.
We've the interesting thing at a production facility like we are, our employees are in a lot of PPE on a normal day, regardless of whether there's coronavirus or if it's flu season. So, we've talked about, all of our cultivation employees are wearing disposable gowns in between rooms. We have clothes that we wear specifically at the facility, shoes that we wear specifically at the facility, sticky mats, gloves, hand sanitizer, soap, all these protocols anyway. So for the most part, the only difference for our employees is the addition of a mask.
Right.
So for us, it hasn't been super impactful. With that said, I mean, I feel like the mask is the most annoying part of the PPE. Typically, I'm sitting in this office that we are right now out of an abundance of caution, wearing my mask in here by myself. And it's nice to have it off and just talk and see somebody's face.
Listen, I don't want this to be the next one where you go, hey, that 0 now went to 1 because I did a podcast and my mask was off.
I know. I'm gonna send you guys a nasty letter if that happens.
I've actually been the opposite of it. And I think everybody has their own personal view of it. And I definitely try not to invade on that. And sometimes we get a little frustrated, but, if somebody wants to wear a mask, I'm 100% for it. If they don't, I'm 100% for that too. And I just truly believe that if you are compromised, then probably going to restaurants and anything else is not the best scenario for you.
Sure.
But I don't think we should all lose that right. If a restaurant owner decides that they want to be open and they want to welcome people, understanding that they may not wear a mask or that they will, that's fine. If you want to close your restaurant or business, that's fine as well. I'm just a big advocate of retaining our rights. And and as a person, if I choose to not go to work out at a CrossFit gym, that's my right. And but it's not my right to go and advocate for that gym to be closed down. I think that's wrong.
It's an interesting thing. A lot of my clients that I work with, including the gym owner, other cannabis businesses that I work with who know I'm an attorney, come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this as an attorney from a civil rights perspective? And I go, I mean, geez, it's such a hard question. I'm not a constitutional law lawyer or anything like that. I don't specialize in that, but it's just, it's one of those things that you go, hey, everyone's got a different opinion on it. And there's no right or wrong answer. That's why it's called an opinion, right? But you like to think that people are going to make responsible decisions. I think everybody, even if you're on the, I would say like the more, I don't know if it's left or right at this point, but even if you're more on the, hey, like it's not as concerning to me side, most people I've talked to say, I don't mind if I'm going to voluntarily go to a business or something, throwing on a mask.
Not at all.
Somebody wants to wear a mask, none of that stuff. But
I respect that 100%.
It's when you start saying you can't do this, you can't do that. And you're like, well, I'd like to make my own decisions from time to time. I'm hoping that we're in a once in a lifetime type of a scenario for our generation where we go, well, I guess we know what it was like to be in that kind of thing, and how can we keep this from happening again, and what can we learn from it next time? Just like anything else.
There's so many things that our lives are going to be changed with this that even now we don't really know. Yeah. And I think it's some is for the better, and I think the other side of it is truly we've instilled a panic into society that I think is a tough place to come back from. We always do.
Yeah.
But all right, listen, enough of the COVID shit.
Right.
You took us there. It wasn't me.
Can we, by the way, just so I can be myself, you said shit. Can we curse on this? Cause I'm like an F-bomber all day.
Oh, well, fuck. I mean, I don't know if you know this podcast, but
I do, but I'm just making sure.
Just
following the rules, man.
It's called
used to following rules
not my fucking rules.
Yeah.
It's called Unfiltered.
There you go. Fucking A then. All right?
There you go. Get him out, man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Fuck.
And it is on every platform you can think of too. So
no, that's gonna be the intro.
Yeah, yeah, the fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back. Enough of that. We've gone through that. It seems like we always have to do that shit. Let's go back into Sonoran Roots. I mean, where do you want to start with that? Because once again, you guys launched a business unknowing, like you're driving to a cliff.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're seeing the cliff in front of you, as we did, but we've been established. And it still is a fucking crazy feeling that we have not had. When we got noticed that COVID was taking place, we were staring at the cliff as well. And regardless if you were launching a business in the beginning, middle, wherever you were at, it was a scary moment because we immediately got our attorneys. Our attorneys were calling us and telling us, you guys got to shut down. Right. And we were like, we can't, like, we just invested so much into this in our facility and the whole, like we'll be done. Sure. And luckily we didn't close down and it was deemed essential. Everybody fought for that. And that was like the breath of fresh air. We still knew we had a lot of work to do. You guys, on the other hand, are like in that mode, which we know, and we stay in that mode, which is really cool for us, is like the beginning. We always feel like it's the beginning. I don't know why, but when we go to work every day, we still feel like this is just the beginning. Like we're pumped. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's crazy that's still with us. So we understand that. And then all of a sudden you guys are looking at, you know, I'm sure a ton of money invested, all this stuff going on. And now it's like, COVID. What is COVID? Oh, what is this? And then all of a sudden, now you hit the edge of the cliff, and there's like these little wings, you know, like chitty chitty bang bang. Do you remember that? Probably not. You're too young for that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The chitty chitty bang bang, and the fucking wings come out of your car, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, like we're gonna survive this. Now let's figure out what we need to do to really just move forward in something that at that time, I'm sure you as I or us had no idea the depth of what was about to happen.
It completely, you know, I'm not going to say altered the business model, but it altered the day-to-day and the operations and the things that we're thinking about dramatically right out of the gate. So the biggest example is staffing and PPE. Yep. So we said, hey, do we hire 5 or 6 extra cultivators just in case we have 5 or 6 cultivators go out? Can we afford to do that right now? Can we get gloves? I can tell you, you know, it used to be the easiest thing in the world. We'd need gloves. I'd go on Amazon. I'd get as many boxes as I want for 7 cents a glove. It's 25 cents a glove now, and you can't get them, right? They're
so stupid.
You know, we're getting pallets of gloves delivered, containers full of gloves and gowns from China, direct from the manufacturers, so that we can stay afloat and do everything we need to do. So we've gotten tons of curveballs with COVID. The one thing, you know, again, we were extremely fortunate being deemed an essential industry that we never had anybody come in, because I can tell you, we got plants in our facility. We got authorized to put plants in on March 14th, and we had plants in on March 14th. And on March 17th, Arizona started shutdown procedures. And on March 20th, I believe, we were deemed an essential business. So talk about breathing a sigh of relief as somebody who's got, like you said, a massive investment in and a lot of capital and debt to pay back to people. Yeah. A lot of people who I'm very close with, who I committed to getting their money back to them. We have been largely unaltered in our ability to operate, but we have absolutely had to deal with operational changes on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. I'm super proud of our team. We've grown our sales every month. Our production has increased every month. Everybody has been very respectful of the protocols that we've put in place in order to keep us in line. And, you know, we just completed yesterday our employee reviews for the year, where we went through and did reviews and bonuses and all that. And the one common theme that I had with everybody was, this is you guys. It's the boots on the ground. You know, I'm in the background pulling the strings on stuff, but you guys have executed and changed. We've had to change things so many times, and you've been so adaptable, and that's what's kept us afloat and allowed us to excel. So I'm in retrospect, would I've ever chosen to open this business in COVID? No. Am I glad we've gone through this? fuck yes, because I know that we can survive anything now that we've gone through these tough times and all the uncertainty, and we've come out and we're stronger for it, quite frankly.
No, you're 100% correct. And what you said really meant a lot as far as how you guys are with your team. And that, you know, and that's how we are in standing on this and opening a business during COVID. It could be one side of it where you're not in the cannabis sector and it's destroyed so many people's lives. Mm-hmm. And once again, how fortunate you are to even still be able to go forward with that, knowing what's going on, and then to get through it, understand. I mean, this is one of those things that look at what's happening right now. People, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but it's eliminating a lot of other people doing what you're doing because of COVID. They're just not up to starting a business because you've added COVID has added such a huge dynamic to the cannabis industry to be able to move forward, that it's just stopping people. Yeah. So I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad, but I think someone in your shoes, it's a good thing because Arizona is now recreational. Yep. You would have 100 people behind you doing that. And so I think you're in a benefit. Now we are launching in Arizona, in Mesa. Actually, we did a deal with Harvest.
Awesome.
So they have a facility over there. We're literally just getting ready to start our build out. It's been going. The COVID thing has strung this out so long in the municipalities, but we're finally at the end of that. But we'll be doing manufacturing.
Nice.
Over in one of the facilities over there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure if you gave me, I know where all the Harvest facilities are located.
The only thing I can tell you, I have the address, but I don't really know it. I've been there 3 times. It's where Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out, and they're all right there.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
And they have a storefront, and we are in the facility behind the storefront, and it's a small storefront.
Is it going to be on Alma School in the 202?
On the what?
Alma School in the 202 freeway?
No.
It's a new one. You got is it existing storefront?
No, it's existing. It's existing. Okay. It's been there. So literally, the only way I know is because we have one of our guys from here that is from that area. Yep. And I just remember every time I drive in there, it's a Chick-fil-A, a Cane's, and In-N-Out. They're all
Stapley in the US 60. Now I know exactly where it's the old. I think it's the. I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah. That's awesome.
I give you I'll give you the address. I don't know it right offhand.
Sure.
I'm not too familiar, but So we're hoping up and running and done probably end of February, early March.
Very cool.
What are we doing?
Yeah, that's when we're trying to get our lab. We're actually building out a second facility right now, which was supposed to be our first facility. And because of some construction delays, COVID stuff, we ended up pulling back on that one, finishing out the Mesa facility first because that was the bigger project. We started seeing like some of these changes, and we're like, we don't want to overextend ourselves on capital too quick until we make sure that we can get open and everything's running good. So the next facility we're opening is actually at our corporate headquarters, which is in Tempe. It's just 5 minutes away from our Mesa facility. And that's going to be where we do a lot of our genetic selection and our pheno hunting, which is, I think, something that differentiates us from some other grows that are currently here in Arizona. I know the market's ever expanding, and we're getting big companies in here like, Connected and Alien are coming in. We got DNA Genetics here now working with some of the bigger groups. So our head of cultivation, Joel, has long been known in the Arizona market for producing some of the best product. And he's really been tied to one particular dispensary because he was growing specifically for them in a small square footage.
Right.
So we all teamed up and essentially just said, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom, man. Go grow in, 5X the square footage so that we can supply the rest of the market as well. And he's knocked it out of the park, has done a fantastic job. But actually when Shabo was here with the 22 Red guys, we were about 3 days away from harvesting our pheno room. So we have a huge partnership with 22 Red here in Arizona. All of the cannabis in 22 Red jars in Arizona is Sonoran Roots cannabis.
That's badass.
Every bit of it, no matter where you get it. And they do their thing so we sell it in bulk. They market it, they package it up, they take great care of our product. I think that's something that sets them apart from other brands here, is they really care about that. They're only putting the best stuff in there. They're willing to sacrifice a little bit of margin on their side to make sure that they have that quality in every single jar. And so that's been a great thing for us because, again, with us being new and getting established, to be able to have a consistent customer buying significant amount of volume, and they're essentially a distribution network for us. We have, it's mind-boggling every time I think about it. So we have a 33,000 square foot production facility running right now, and we're producing about 1,000 pounds per month of bulk shelf flower, plus all of the littles, popcorn, trim, keef, all that kind of stuff. We have one salesperson, and we have 2 delivery drivers, and I'm one of them. And the salesperson is the other delivery driver. So we're doing it extra lean right now just to make sure everything goes well. But partnering with groups like 22 Red, who takes mass amounts of bulk quantity from us allows us to be able to do that.
Right.
And it's really mutually beneficial. So
great team, those guys.
Yeah, they're awesome. The Tempe facility that we're going to be doing huge amounts of pheno hunting and genetic selection and really bringing some unique strains. We cross all of our own genetics in-house. We're doing all that in-house, and we're very comfortable doing a pheno hunt and scrapping everything and starting over because we want to maintain that quality. So I think we're at a very unique position in the Arizona market. So there's some really good flower producers here. I always like to prop up the people in the industry who I, strive to be right up there with them. So TrueMed, absolutely known for being some great flower here in Arizona. Grow Sciences, these are the names you'll hear. Nectar Farms, these are the names you'll hear. I would definitely put Sonoran Roots Cannabis up there with them.
That's
we just
badass.
haven't been around as long.
I mean, that says a lot about you as a person too. And once again, there's a lot of similarities here because of the fact that we always believe there's room for everybody.
Of course.
We always believe there's room for everybody. And when we're in stores, I mean, it's the same thing. I can talk about every other vape, it doesn't matter. Like we're just stoked to be here. And then the fact that we are even considered to be somebody in the game.
For sure.
We just broke the top 10. I think we're number 8, in vape carts. In fact,
awesome.
Dude, we'd never fathom that. There's 280 something solidified vape companies in California.
Yeah.
I mean, how'd we become number 8? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Michigan, we're number 1 and have been for 4 years now. But yet we're friends with everybody in the industry. And we do business with all the top contenders on a personal level in every direction. A bunch of great people, really. So for you to be on that same level where you're able to look at where you're at and also understand where other people are, that's huge. And don't lose that, and don't get yourself, where your head doesn't fit in this screen, because that's when you go away. It sucks, but that's just
we're honored to be considered in the same breath with those groups. They've been doing.
But you work your ass off to get there. That's
we work our ass off, and do we want to be regarded as the best? Of course we do, but it's kind of like, hey, there's we just want to be on the dream team roster, right? There's room for Jordan, Magic, Bird, all those people, right? So no one's gonna say any of those guys don't deserve to be there.
Dude, listen, I even want to be. I'll even take being the guy that fucking sweeps the sweat off the court.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
As long as you're not Christian Leitner, he was regarded as an epic failure on that team, right?
No, leave that out.
But no, and to your point, we do business with all these groups as well. We have some large, obviously, Harvest. Speaking of Harvest, they're based here in Arizona. They were founded in Arizona and based here, so we do a lot of business with Harvest. We do business with we have some of these extract companies that are tied to some of these really premier flower brands,
right,
are buying our trim and
doing
putting a sticker on
collabing.
Cultivated by Sonoran Roots. We're collabing with them. Like two of our, I would love to shout out a couple of our, speaking of the vapes and concentrates world, two of the bigger concentrate brands here in Arizona. So MPX, which is associated with the Health for Life dispensary. They're buying a ton of product from us, and we do collabs with them all the time. And
that's
also,
badass.
Yeah, Cannabis concentrates, which I'm going to throw them the big shout out with the skull right there on
there
the screen.
Go.
That's the Cannabis concentrates. Those are our boys. They're using almost exclusively our product to create their extracts. And so we have a great relationship with them and the dispensary they're associated with. And again, yeah, it's like, from our perspective, like you said, there's enough room at the table for everybody to eat. And instead of, cutting each other down, if we prop each other up and just acknowledge, hey, there's lots of room out there, and we can all do this together. And people find their niches too. Some
craft is big.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, look, how many great beers and wines are there out there, right? You don't have to cut down, and you can, if you're a 95 point wine, you're a 95 point wine, right? And
I mean, who would have ever known Ballast Point?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Fucking crazy. Like Budweiser, and Ballast Point comes through with what they've done.
Santan's our big one here. Santan got, finally started getting the distribution nationwide, Santan Brewery, and they're everywhere now, everywhere on the West Coast, and they're starting to move to the East Coast. They're huge. And that's a craft brand. They're based in Chandler, Arizona. I go to the original Santan Brewery probably once a month and eat and drink there. And it's awesome to see them do that. Like you said, there's room for everybody. So the cream will rise to the top, So
now you're on this scenario of becoming a cultivator. You've never grown anything, right?
I don't cultivate shit, man. I'm a business guy. I'm a lawyer. I tell our employees all the time.
So why cultivation?
The least knowledgeable cannabis person in the whole fucking facility. Maybe not anymore, but certainly for the first 6 months.
Right.
Dude, we are fortunate to have, again, our head of cultivation, Joel. He used to be called Boutique Cultivation AZ. And now he's our head of cultivation for Sonoran Roots. That guy he makes my job real easy. So I get to say that I'm part of a cultivation company. He's the cultivator. He designed the facility. We have some really great staff working on under him, but I always say, keep me away from the live plants, man. You don't want me anywhere near the live plants. I can help you sell them. I can put together the deals for you.
Right. Don't want me fucking watering anything here.
You not no. I don't even want anyone watering. We're automated. We dumped. If you guys look, if you get a chance, the 22 Red guys, I think it's tagged to the 22 Red LA page. They all came out and they did a tour of our facility, and there's tons of pictures and video. We are highly automated. We spared no expense in creating the right facility, because I do believe that there's a lot of people who can grow high quality cannabis, and there's a lot of people who can grow a high volume of cannabis. It's very difficult to maintain the quality with the scale.
Right.
And I think that's something that sets our cultivation department apart, is that
keeping standards.
It's very hard to come in and say, hey, we're going to, I don't want to get into specific details here, but when you say, hey, you guys got a lot of money. Yeah, we got a lot of money in the facility. We've built it the right way. Joel would come to me and say, hey, I really think this will help us and we need this. And I would say, if that's what's going to make us an elite cannabis company at that scale, do it. Like, fucking send it. Let's get it done.
Yep.
So we spare no expense to keep that quality with the level of scale we have. And the only way to do that is to invest in the right kind of equipment and facilities.
No, that's the truth. But I still ask, like, so how did it become cultivation for you?
So again, this was not my brainchild. I wish I could take credit for everything, but so Joel and my other partner, Jeremy, who Jeremy's actually is one of the guys behind the Cannabis Concentrates brand. They've been working together for years with Joel cultivating at the same facility, and Jeremy recognized the opportunity for a larger scale boutique quality or craft quality cannabis company. And he knew that in Joel, he had the person behind it who could run it.
Gotcha.
And so that was their brainchild, and they were working on it. And then as things go, you have, so these guys are the industry guys, and they are top notch in every regard. But at a certain point, when you want to build a certain facility, you may have to get some additional business help or legal or whatever. And that's really how I got looped into the deal. And then because of my background in venture capital and some of the other connections I made, I was able to say, hey, guys, I have the talent with Joel and Jeremy over here, and I have the money over here. Can we bridge this gap and bring it together?
Wow.
And that's how the group came together, was bridging the gap. So they already had the idea and the concept, and I had been talking to some guys with money, and we were able to bridge that gap and put it together. So the business was built around the known factor already, which is we have the capacity with the talent on the people side and the ops side to grow extremely high level, high quality cannabis. And now it's just a question of finding the right site and putting the money there.
So now with that being said, and where you guys are at currently, how's the demand in Arizona for you guys, and how are you guys keeping up?
Demand is insane. It's only going up with rec. I mean, we're getting a lot of people contacting us, trying to pre-order and stock up in advance of rec. And quite frankly, we can't get the second facility open fast enough. So it's one of those big problems to have, but still a problem. And that goes for the lab we're building as well too. We have got that demand ready to go on the concentrate side. Especially with, it all starts, as a vape, manufacturer yourself, that it starts with the input, right? And so the input of the flower, and it's going to be interesting to see how the market changes with rec adult use and just
to stop you, but my understanding was they were going to talk about having rec come on board in January. Did that end up happening?
It's not going to happen. No way.
So it's still like April?
I think, March, April is when it's really, so they're going through a rulemaking process right now. I know that they're going to have the rec license conversion process for the dispensaries. The way it's going to work is that will happen in January, but until the rulemaking process is done, which I believe they set like a 6-month deadline when they had to have it operational.
Same thing they did here in California.
Yeah. March, April, something like that. So,
well, that allows some of us some time.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
another
question.
Open in Tempe by then. We'll be open.
Okay, Tempe, so. Cool. Another question. What about outdoor?
Outdoor is really tough here in Arizona. So, people who are not familiar with Arizona think Phoenix and dry desert in the valley. There's actually a huge variety of topography and environmental climates here. We have mountains and ski resorts and all that kind of stuff. So, in terms of outdoor grow here, I personally believe it's very hard to have any kind of significant outdoor presence. The closest you're going to get is greenhouse. Even that becomes very tough here because the weather is just so harsh. And the other thing too is the way that Arizona is, with the way that people are located in Arizona, just like everywhere else, is we tend to be located around the metropolitan areas, right? And so access to labor becomes an issue as well. We have one of the largest grows in the country here in Snowflake, Arizona. And, I think a lot of people, and they do a great job too. That's Copper State. They're one of the biggest companies here in Arizona in cannabis, one of the originals. I have to imagine, not being in that business myself, in their business, is that it's the access to the labor pool is difficult. But we have looked at outdoor facilities and greenhouse for our model and the level of quality that we want to grow for our product. It's really not an option for us. So we're full indoor.
Gotcha. Kind of keep that path.
Keep the path and stay within our lanes. I mean, this is not Humboldt County, right? You can't just plop down seeds in the Emerald Triangle and have them grow fireweed, right? So we got, I think we had 55 days that were 110 degrees or more in a row here this summer. So unless you're up in some different climate, and then you go there, it gets cold. So
then you got the freezing.
Talking about 2 crops max, right? So for us, we do a perpetual harvest. We harvest every single week, and we replant a room every single week. Sometimes 2.
Being consistent.
Yeah.
So what else? What else are you guys doing?
So we are working on, we're actually working on acquiring our own dispensary license at the moment. Feel like that's going really well.
My understanding, and I only have it because Harvest came to us and asked us to do something with them. Sure. And so that all started probably, man, it's been 8 months, 7-8 months now. Mm-hmm. And then at one point we thought, oh, it's not going to happen. Finally, it's, it's in that phase and it's great on that end of it. But my understanding is, do you have to acquire a license from somebody that has one?
You do. So there is going to be a few licenses that come out with rec. That are going to go into some of the further reaching corners of the state.
Gotcha.
The way it works is it's tied in Arizona. It's tied to the number of licensed pharmacies there are. So it's 10% of the licensed pharmacies. We have 1,300 pharmacies. So there's 130 medical licenses.
Okay, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's kind of a little known fact. And that's under the guise of, again, that we're providing medicine, right? So they wanted a proportion of the pharmacies.
Gotcha.
The way they kind of tied it. So the way it's going to work with rec is that all those licenses are going to have the option to convert over to this dual license where you can be medical and rec. And then there's going to be for licenses that have moved from some of these like far reaching corners of the state where there's only 1 or 2 licenses left or maybe 0, they're going to allow some licenses to go back to those remote locations, but they're going to have to stay there. So the existing licenses can be moved around to any qualifying.
But those ones are going to actually lock down.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And so there's also a social, they call it a social equity program component.
We're dealing with that in Michigan right now.
Yeah.
Huge in Detroit.
That'll be up to 26 licenses. The rules have not been issued on that yet, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out. But with my legal background, I know that it's tied to, I believe the language is like people who have been disproportionately impacted by previous marijuana legislation. So I don't know if that's going to be a zip code thing or, a area of town type of thing. I believe it's going to be somewhat geographically centered in the Phoenix area because of that. So, but what we're doing is, we're working on getting our own retail license so that we can become fully vertical. The way it works in Arizona is every dispensary has the option or has the availability to operate one retail dispensary. And then you can have a cultivation site at the same site as your retail, as well as one cultivation site at a different physical location, and manufacturing can be on or off site as well.
It opens up a lot of doors.
It opens up a lot of doors. Yes. That's why Arizona is one of the most valuable licenses. Now, what comes with that is that existing license holders, whether you're successful or not, a lot of money to get one of those licenses. So, and they're becoming harder and harder to get because the big groups like Harvest and Curaleaf, who are nationwide, have focused their business on license acquisition. That's another reason that we focused on cultivation is if you didn't get allocated a license in the lottery process in 2012 or 2016, the fact of the matter is that the cost of a license has gone up so much that the day of, your individual getting 4 or 5 licenses anymore, that's past. You've missed that boat, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to outbid a company that's got $100 million fund rolling at any given time. But those companies, because they've spent money on licenses and that retail real estate and presence, have not always spent the same amount of money on cultivation, manufacturing, et cetera. And they need input to keep their doors open. You know that in Michigan, right?
Yep, absolutely.
The cultivation's
going nuts in Michigan right now.
And the price per pound has gone nuts because people want to keep their doors open, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, otherwise, go to Oklahoma. $1,000. Yeah. You can open up a store. $1,500. You could plant 5,000 acres if you want.
Yeah, and that's got its drawbacks too. I mean,
huge drawbacks.
What happened to the market in Oregon initially, and I think it's leveled out a little bit. But look at like you said, anybody and their mother can get a license there. So.
Yep, and I think that's the understanding is when you go to Oregon, Washington. At one point, a few years ago, we were offered everything we wanted in Washington. I could have picked up 500 acres. They would have paid us to take it. Yep. Along with shipping containers full of weed because they couldn't sell it anywhere. It was literally just rotting. And and I said, that's the evolution of what's happening. I get it. I think it's careless in some ways, but then I look at it now and I go, it was kind of smart because what it did was it got people to understand the industry in a different way and the supply and demand. And everybody went and just a store here. You want a store, you get a store. You want cultivation, you get cultivation. Go out to Eastern Washington. How many acres you want? You can have whatever you want.
It's like Oprah, man. Y'all get a store.
Everybody gets a store. Exactly. And then what happened was they started to realize that the demand isn't there for what the supply is. And it eventually kind of filtered out the people that really just weren't going to make it in that industry in a different way. And now it allows it to kind of stabilize. And that's what you're seeing. Oregon, Washington, they're stable. Their prices are going back up. Now everybody, there's not this big jump into, if you were in Arizona and they had unlimited, everybody and their mother you'd have it everywhere. But that's not the case. So it's two different spectrums. Oklahoma, they're going through that process right now. Everybody and their mother has a store. They have cultivation. Everything is wide open, but it's pennies. And now they're finally starting. It's a great market, don't get me wrong, but they're finally starting to kind of seed their way into where they're going to be, for who knows how long, because not everybody's going to Oklahoma anymore.
And I think that Arizona we had a ballot initiative in 2016 to go to adult use, and it narrowly missed by about 4%.
Right.
And I actually think that served the market very well because it allowed some of that evolution and to learn best practices from other states. So I think that, Arizona taking, we've been a medical state for quite a while, since 2011, 2012. And the ability to watch other states roll out, see what works, what doesn't, is going to really serve us well in this market. And having some of the, having the Harvest of the world and some of the larger cannabis groups who have a significant presence here, who have been involved in that in other states. I know a lot of people talk about, the big guys, and, cannabis has this gray market, black market tie to it always, where people, it's kind of, say, oh, well, the big companies are coming in and ruining it and all that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily agree with that. And again, I think there's room for everybody, right? Like there's room for Bud Light, there's room for Ballast Point. Well, there's room for the big producers, and there's room for guys like us who are going to do it on a smaller scale and focus 100% on the quality.
Yep.
It's not right or wrong. It's just, it is what it is. But I think Arizona taking a little bit longer to pass rec and having, watching some of these other states take their lumps is going to serve us well and help us maintain that really good market. And we're high growth right now in Arizona by population too. We're getting mass exodus of people from California,
from here,
these other states, right? Exactly like you buying property for, whether it's for financial reasons, tax, political reasons, but Arizona's, been this hidden gem for a long time, but we've quietly built up to, Phoenix being the 5th largest city in the country. As a metropolitan.
And it's beautiful
area.
Over there.
It's beautiful.
If anybody has not been to Scottsdale or up in that area, even Flagstaff, I love Flagstaff.
Absolutely.
If you haven't been in those areas, all you think about is Phoenix. And it's really the wrong way to think about Arizona. And the same thing, even being over in Havasu. Mm-hmm. I love it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we have many great things in this state. And, I was spoiled growing up here. And then I went, of course, I went to school. I lived in Boston, New York, Los Angeles. Great things about all those cities. And I'm a city guy, my, that's kind of my style. I like the action.
Right.
But when it was time to come back, raise a family and do all that kind of stuff, you
kind of start
to realize exactly where you're at. So, and I love California too, but,
we're a mess over here.
Yeah. Hey, honest. San Diego, man, is Arizona's beach until we all figured out Rocky Point, right? It's a great state. There's a huge opportunity here in cannabis, huge opportunity just in general. Lots of big businesses are relocating here. Apple has put down huge operations here. Electric car companies, Intel, biggest Intel location in the world outside of California is here. So
it's definitely happened. Back to 22 Red. So I don't know if you've watched any of our podcasts, but I had Chavo on. If you haven't, it's turned out to be kind of a funny podcast. But interesting thing on that side of it is your typical person, celebrity, if you want to be that, if that's what you want to call it, usually just throws their name out there and they're kind of like, I met Chavo almost 3 years ago, and in just kind of a weird way we became friends, and in this whole process, and you find out a guy like that, he's so hands-on. And so going back to when you were talking about it, we kind of went through it, the fact of how those guys are as a team, that's Chavo. Like that guy is hands on with everything that goes on in that company. It's not somebody that just goes, oh yeah, use my name.
Yep.
So big shout out on those guys, and especially the fact that you guys are able to partner up and you know, their name is on your product and vice versa.
Yep.
Huge coming into rec. I always say it. I mean, Med is great. Don't get me wrong, but as a company and then going into rec in Arizona, that's a huge process for you guys. And
and you know, you couldn't be more right about Chavo and 22 Red. He is not just an Instagram account or a face.
Right.
He came out to our facility and wanted to see every detail of what we're doing before he's comfortable putting his name on the product. Right. He wants to consume our product and see how it smokes. He's involved in their marketing. I mean, he's approving the naming of the products, the way they choose to proprietarily name their strains. And you're right. Most other celebrity endorser types are not doing that because he actually he is passionate about cannabis. And I think that's why their company is doing good. And we actually talked as a group after they came and said, that's fucking cool, man. And we love being tied with them for that. And that's how we are. And that's why we like it so much with Chavo and 22 Red as well, is because we're the same way. You know, we're in there and we're like, hey, I'm not just, like I said, I know I'm not the cannabis guy in the building, but I'm looking at every batch. I'm in packaging, I'm in trim, I'm looking at stuff, I'm talking to people. Our employees are smoking it and you know, not obviously they get it from the dispensary legally and stuff, but they're trying it and they're coming back and going, hey man, that batch was not up to Sonoran Roots par. And we want to hear that. We're like, tell us.
And you have to have that.
What's working well.
We do the same thing here. Anytime anything is new, anything is tested, the process that we have here before anything ever hits a shelf, it's like, I don't even want to know how much money it costs us to get to that point.
For sure.
Because it's probably money I could just say, I'm going to keep that and I'm going to quit. I'm quitting.
But that's the short game, man. You know, you put that product out in the street and all of a sudden you get a bad reputation. And now it's like, well, hey, I might've just made an extra 100K this month, but I might've lost 30K a month from disappointed consumers for, in perpetuity.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, man, that's exciting. Is there any interest in going multi-state, or are you just going to hunker in and do what you're doing? And
no, we are definitely interested in becoming multi-state. So we kind of have our hands out there exploring some other opportunities with different states. We have some of the part of the deal, the deal we're working on to acquire a license involves an option on a multi-state component. And we're always out there. We're going to be, once we get through a little more of this startup stuff, one of the main values that I hope to provide for our group is to be applying for those licenses. It's not something we've had time to do this year in 2020 with COVID and starting up and all that. But now that we're dialed in a little bit more operationally and we have some extra help, we're definitely looking to do that. And that may be, whether that's ownership or management, or maybe just bringing some of our brands, like, again, some of the brands that are going to come with the acquisition we're very excited about, and propping, because some of those are already multi-state. And so we're looking to spread it even further.
Maybe we'll get you out to Michigan. Maybe we could do a deal out there. And
we actually, our CFO is from Michigan, and our head of cultivation, one of his best buddies in cultivation, is out in Michigan. So we've actually talked about that. I'd love to chat about it at any time.
That's big. Michigan it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
What goes on in Michigan, and it's kind of like this island out there. Nobody really has understood what that state does.
I feel like it's the forgotten state because of Detroit and the whole auto industry stuff.
It is.
It's been such a location of like bad news for the last 10 years, right?
But the cannabis side of it is insane.
Yeah.
No, it really is. And even going through where they have now, we had a big lack on cultivation and still do. So that's a huge welcome out there. We don't cultivate out there. We want to, we used to, but it's crazy the amount of cannabis in Michigan.
Yeah.
So, We do 50 to 60 million a year just in Michigan alone.
Wow.
And we can't keep up.
Yeah.
Like, we know that we are about a third of the way where we could be.
That's amazing.
So it's crazy. And yeah, you guys should go to Michigan. We can do a lot of stuff.
I'd love to, man. I'd love to. We explore opportunities everywhere. We do have a small piece of a potential license after this litigation gets decided for cultivation in New Jersey. We're looking at some other options on different states, whether it's joint venture or whatever. But I think for us, a big part of our model is showing what we can do in these facilities and bringing in that operation, because there's money out there, and there's land, and there's deals to be had. But again, I do believe it's very hard to effectively run a large scale cultivation. It's not the same. It does not increase proportionately with square footage from your 5,000 square foot grow.
Right.
Not even close.
But the big thing is building the team. That's and I could tell you, I mean, in our situation, we stumbled across this, and somehow we ended up in these, I don't want to say somehow, but being real fortunate that we started with California and then Michigan and Oklahoma and now Arizona. I mean, it's a task, but you got to be ready as far as building the team and maintaining the integrity. That's the biggest thing. Is having that integrity and quality for you guys, especially.
Exactly.
So, wow.
Yeah, and that can be hard to replicate from state to state, as you know. So.
Yeah, and you seem like you have a lot of that under your belt. It's a tough one, but I think you talk to other people that you kind of look at and go, just stay where you're at. You know what I mean? Not that you're doing a bad thing, you're doing a great thing, but do you really want to get into that? You guys, on the other hand, it seems like you're right there.
We talk a lot at this company, whether it's in Arizona, out of state, or whatever, about controlled growth. And for us, that's hitting the gas pedal as hard as we can comfortably.
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is, you can call it the green rush or whatever, but there's only certain industries that any one person's going to see in their lifetime, right? Like I grew up, I'm a 1982 baby. So I saw the big boom of technology, but I was a little too young to do anything about it. I'm not a computer engineer. So I didn't have money to invest in the .com bubble because I was still a kid.
Right.
I wasn't trained in that. So that's a wave that passed me, right? Arizona, there's real estate waves all the time. So you can get into that.
It's on and off.
Yeah, but you look at some of these big, I talk about cannabis with people who ask me about it being a generational opportunity, meaning it's not something we're going to, this is prohibition era getting into alcohol, but possibly even bigger. And so many other uses that are, I truly feel that marijuana is much less detrimental to your body than alcohol is. I mean, I couldn't argue that enough. And not only that, but also depending on how much, why, et cetera, can be very beneficial to your body. Right. And so I truly think that this is an opportunity for my generation to look at this and say, hey, we're going to see such explosive growth here. We have to be willing to bet on ourselves in the industry if we truly believe in it, as long as we're not going to fuck up what we already have going. So that's that controlled growth that we talk about.
That is the truth. And the fact is I keep saying this, so my son and I have been almost 11 years now. It's crazy to think that it didn't fucking happen overnight. As much as people think that it did, in your case, the same thing. People you don't see that, but we're just getting started.
For sure.
Like, this isn't, .com, that came, and it was like, it literally just shot up, leveled off, and then fucking fell out of the sky. Yeah. Not like a Tesla rocket either.
Yeah.
I mean, it fucking came down. You know what I mean? A lot of people made a lot of money, and a lot of people lost everything.
Yeah.
This, on the other hand, this is a lifetime. This is what everybody sees in alcohol. As much as I hate to use that as an example, but the prohibition and where alcohol, like this industry is going to create generations and generations of wealth.
Yep.
But it's going to benefit so much more than we ever can imagine.
Yeah.
And not like alcohol.
For sure.
And that's the thing. Like, this is going to put, don't chase the money. The money's, chase the experience.
Yeah.
Chase the fun and being a part of something that really does mean something versus something that isn't. And that's what we look at this as, and creating jobs and creating positions for people that they generally wouldn't have in their lifetime. And that's why we're so excited about the move forward in any aspect of what we're doing. We don't chase the money. I know it's cliche to say it. My dad had even said it. You doing something that you love, the money will be there. Don't ever worry about the money.
Yeah.
And there's just, I would tell him he was fucking stupid. You know, I mean, it's like, what do you know, where I was at a specific time, I believe it 1,000% now. And I'm that guy now saying it to my kids and saying it to people. And I don't feel stupid for saying it.
Yeah.
And now I understand other people and my father saying that, it was the truth. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes my kids would look at me like, what do you say, you dumbass? You know, but now they're understanding it at a younger age that it is the truth. Yeah. So you guys are in a great position, and you know, we all are. And it is the beginning of something that's going to be so much bigger than us, and there's no rush. Yeah. They say it's the green rush. There's no rush. Listen, how many states are we legal in, and what are we really doing right now? Right. We haven't even started.
Well, the interesting thing too is that I see this so much as a consumer education issue, because obviously marijuana has been a Schedule I drug for, you know, I don't know how long, but the fact that we're starting to, I think, you know, I try to be a healthy guy. I try to eat healthy. You know, I'm not a big drinker. I used to be. I just don't like it anymore. It doesn't fit in with my lifestyle.
I'm with you on two of those. I forget which two. The eating part, I love to eat.
Yeah.
I do CrossFit 5 days a week.
Same here.
Sometimes 6. My son, we've been doing it for so long. But there's this other side. I'm not a big drinker.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't consume. I don't smoke. And that's, I used to. I haven't for quite a long time. My son never has. Mm. He's never smoked anything in his life.
That's crazy.
And he's never consumed anything as far as cannabis. But he's probably just like you. Like, he can tell you, he's the one that sources everything that we have. Mm-hmm. He's so good at understanding flower and everything on that side of it. But we cultivated. Yeah. That's what we've been doing, you know, how we got started. But this thing is, like, you're in such a great position. And as long as you don't let it go to your head, I'm telling you, you guys will fly and be so fortunate that you're putting this time and energy and what it's going to do for you and your family, as long as you stay on that path. You know what I mean? It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah. I think people are starting to think very much about taking care of their bodies, what they put into their bodies. Food, it's a huge thing. I mean, you look at how many people eat organic now versus what they used to.
I just started.
Yeah. People are educated now about, you know, about their diets and what they're putting in their bodies, and the fact that traditional medicine is not always good for you. People are, that's why people like to talk about, hey, I'm going to go medicate, right? I'm by no means like a hyper consumer of cannabis. I do probably consume 5 to 7 days a week. And I can tell you, for me, what it works for is it works for aches and pains, shutting off the little hamster wheel in my head.
At night.
I can go to sleep and I can connect with my family. I feel like I can't tell you how many, I'm 38 years old. So my friends range in general, I would say from like 30 to 45, in that range. And I can't tell you how many people I talk to say, it makes me a better dad at home at night when I go home and the stress of the day. It allows me to shut off and connect with my kids. It's not always about getting high. It's about taking whatever positively impacts you from the plant, whether that's growing it. We have people in cultivation who are obsessed with the plant. They don't consume. There's peace and tranquility for them in the process of cultivating.
And and the plant's still doing that.
Exactly. So I truly feel like that with food and health and cannabis there's going to be this shift in society where people are focusing on that and reevaluating what's been viewed as good and bad over the last 30 or 40 years and saying, hey, there's a new regime.
Yep. We're burning through the snake oil people right now. That's it, literally in the process. You're going to have the people that stand up. Cannabis cures everything. Cannabis is this, cannabis is that. The same thing that we've done with CBD and everything else. And now you can see it starting to kind of level off. And as we go forward, there's going to be the studies that are going to impact everybody's lives to understand what is really going on with cannabis and breaking this plant down and understanding the value of the plant. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about health. As we go through that process, that's when it's going to kind of open up the gates. And I used to feel stupid for saying, being pro cannabis in that way, because people look at you like you're a dumbass. Yeah. And now I'm super proud and having what we have and understanding it. I've never professed that cannabis cures anything at all. But I'll tell you this, in my 11 years of really being in cannabis and what we've done with oncologists and people that have terminal ill diseases and everything that you can think of, I can tell you this. I have so many people that have had cancer that the very first time that they've ever used cannabis, they got to eat. They got to taste food. They got to get nutrition, which is so valuable in that process. I highly recommend it during any type of treatment that you're dealing with on that level, because it's a benefit. Helps you sleep. Those are things that I'll go to my grave knowing.
Absolutely.
But does it cure cancer? I can't say that it does. Is it a part of helping? Absolutely. 100%. Will we find out what the values are as far as any type of those illness? It's in the process right now. And trust me, as now this thing's moving forward, what's going to happen is as these things do come out, they're going to highlight. When they find out what this does to a certain disease, it's going to be pushed out so much that we can't even keep up with it. And when it does that, it just benefits everybody.
For sure.
So no, there's a whole other side to it. I'm getting in the process now, and I want to do this is our fun podcast. This is informational in a way of getting people to understand that not everybody is this big dark cannabis pot smoking. You know what I mean? And so it's always like, what does cannabis do for you? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the great thing, is to see a person like yourself comes from a background, not the dark, dismal area that everybody thinks. I mean, fuck you, college graduate, went and became an attorney, thought about being a fucking accountant. We're gonna let that one slide. You don't even look like an accountant.
Dude,
I'm not saying accountants look bad.
I don't look like a lawyer either, or talk like a lawyer in general. So everyone
that was my next statement.
You're a fucking lawyer, man.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I'm a cannabis CEO. I'm not a lawyer.
Put your mask on. Now you look like an accountant.
There you go. Yep.
No, I mean, and so that's this podcast, and it's great because we're really getting some ground now in this, and we're getting a lot of feedback, and people are just like, wow, like this is really cool, because they get to see people that have been, involved in cannabis or have not been involved in cannabis and are now. And guess what? I hate to break it to you, man, but you're a normal guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not this, you're not that guy that everybody sits back and thinks is fucking dreadlocks and,
I keep trying to tell my kids, I got 2 little girls, they're 6 and 4. They're like cutest little things in the world. And,
right.
And I'm like, I always joke with my wife because, she knows I'm not fucking cool. She knows more than anyone I'm not fucking cool, right? But I always joke with my wife. I'm like, man, I'm such a cool dad. Like, they have no idea. Like, I'm around weed all day. I sell weed.
Right.
What a cool fucking dad I am. They have no idea. It's funny because because I just come home and
she's like, yeah, do the fucking
my
dishes.
wife makes me change, being in a cultivation all day. You smell, and I love the smell of the fresh plant smells so much different, right, than a smoked, that skunkiness. And so I come home, but just out of respect to the house and, everyone's, I walk into the facility and get olfactory fatigue in about 4 seconds and don't smell it for the rest of the day. But I also realize when I walk into a bank or something, I reek.
Oh yeah.
And so I get home, I take my clothes off and my girls are like, hey, Daddy, you stink. Is that your medicine, Dad? I say, yeah. And they love looking at pictures of the flower. They
How
don't know
crazy is that?
Smoking it and stuff. But they say, what do you do? And I say, well, Daddy and his friends grow medicine. And we sell medicine that helps people. And they go, like the kind of medicine that, Nanny and Poppy buy at CVS. And I say, it's different, but it's the same thing. We are growing medicine. We're growing something that people need and want in their lives.
Yep.
And they understand that and they love it. And they go, Daddy, did you grow medicine today? Yep. Can we see pictures of your pretty medicine? And they love it.
And how great is that you're in that position?
Yeah.
5 years ago, you wouldn't.
No, I would say, I don't want you knowing about this kind of stuff. And,
I mean, I can tell you, we were telling everybody we're consultants. There was just like so much. And now, you are a fucking cool guy, regardless of what anybody says. Being in weed, it's fucking cool.
I tell you what, it's a lot cooler than sitting inside of a law firm.
And I'll tell you this, when you are in a circle with a bunch of attorneys and anybody else, and they go, what do you do? And now you go, you know what? I'm a fucking cultivator. I grow weed. They look at you and go, fuck, you're cool.
Yeah. Well, and those are some of the biggest consumers. And they're like, hey, those are always the guys who are like, dude, I actually have my card. I've been buying weed for the last 5 years. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay, man.
Right.
Hey, make sure you buy Sonoran Roots. I was in your shoes. Just go buy Sonoran Roots.
And it's a funny story with Cody and I, way back in the day. We were when we really started to do well. We had 4 stores, still cultivating on a large scale, all indoor, and but still underground in that way. And we were downtown San Diego at a deli, and there was a group of guys, all attorneys, and they were all sitting there. Was like 6 or 8 of them sitting at a table, and we were sitting next, and they were all full suits, the whole deal. And the one guy was just a douchebag to the girl that was there. Mm-hmm. And, we kind of sat there and we were just, this is how we are. This is how we are every day. Yeah. Just like you are. And I remember like we were watching and one guy said, it was something almost like it was out of a movie, because like one guy said something, oh yeah. And he said something, then they were all just talking shit. And it was like, man, they just thought they were too good for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I said to my son, I said, isn't it crazy and great that we're not that? Yeah. Really think about it. I said, even more crazy is the fact that unarguably you alone make more money than all 6 of those guys put together. And you're still not a dick. Yeah. And I said, don't ever be a dick. Yep. And it just, money doesn't make you who you are. You know what I mean? And some people define themselves by that. I like nice things. You know what I mean? Of
course. Who doesn't?
Have a great time. You know what? I own a plane. I love nice things. I don't think I'm a dick. Tommy might think I'm a dick, but other people might. But I think reality is you don't let that define who you are. And and so that was kind of when you're talking about with your kids and stuff like that, like, I don't ever want my kids or anybody in my family or anybody to define themselves by the things that they have. Have everything you want. That's what life's about. Go have those experiences. And if you're fortunate enough and you work your ass off and you can do those things, great. Yeah. But don't turn your nose up.
We have gone through our employee reviews in the last few days, and I've had a couple people say to me, like, I'm so thankful to be a part of this company because I love cannabis. I love the cannabis industry. It's my passion. And you guys have, one of the things that's important to us is treating our employees like they're not cannabis employees, like they're employees in any other business where they get to share in the wealth. Because I think a lot of cannabis companies abuse their employees. I really do feel like that, at least in Arizona. And it's very disappointing to me. There's no reason. So on the other side of that, not, there's the, make as much money as you want. You don't have to be a dick. And the other thing that, I was talking with some of the employees, they said, I just can't believe I get to work here and that you guys pay me this money to do this. And I say, hey, don't devalue yourself. And
that's a crazy part.
It's the same thing as like, you work in the cannabis industry, be proud of that. And, you don't have to feel like you're a burnout because you smoke cannabis, you work in the cannabis industry.
Not at all.
You're a hardworking person. You're a valuable member of this company. And it doesn't matter that I went to law school and you sweep the floors and I sweep the floors too. And you add extreme value to this company. And I really want to change that, within our company culture. It's important to me. If I don't get 10 texts from employees a day on my cell phone, I'm like, have I done something wrong? Like, that's the kind of connection that we have with our people. It doesn't matter that I'm an owner or the CEO or I went to law school. We're in the trenches with them, and we want them to know that this isn't a job. You can have a career here at this company and in this industry and be fuck everyone's view of what's a well-respected member of society. Like, to me, if you come, my parents are both teachers. And so I have an enormous amount of respect for people for what they do and not how much they make. And am I in awe of people who are able to build mega businesses and make a crazy amount of money? Absolutely. That's a phenomenal accomplishment. It's also a phenomenal accomplishment to raise well-behaved children who are nice and respectful.
That's harder than building a business.
That's way harder than building a business, especially in this day and age.
Right.
And so I have a tremendous amount of respect for people, no matter where they've come from. And I've been fortunate to see, from top to bottom, this industry now and different things. One thing I did not put in my bio that I was, getting that over to you guys quickly this morning. I was a firefighter in the city of Mesa for 6 years.
No, fuck. All right. So everybody, I want you to go to the
trying to be the most interesting man alive.
Now he is. Now he is.
Now I don't know
what calendar are you on?
What's that?
What month and what year calendar are you on? Everybody's gonna want to know.
Mr. November. I wish, man. I don't look like a firefighter either, to be honest with you. But I did that. I was already a lawyer, and I decided to become a firefighter. And people were like, "You're crazy, man. You're an attorney. You make good money." And I said, "So what? That doesn't." So
now I can't do that.
Well, and they said, yeah. I go, oh, so because I went to law school, I can't, I can't go do something. Why do you want to do it? I said, because I don't feel like I'm doing anything meaningful with my life at the moment. And I want to go do something that I feel like is going to make a difference.
That's badass.
And I had people, I had people who I thought I respected in my life tell me it's a big mistake. And my response was like,
not supporting,
respectfully, fuck off, man. Right. Because I'm an adult. If you think I'm smart enough to be an attorney, then I'm smart.
And now you're going to tell me, I'm making a bad decision.
Now, yeah, exactly. So, and I wouldn't take back that time. I'm no longer a firefighter. It was, I did my time. I did it for 6 years. I was able to do some amazing stuff, and I'm grateful. I have tons of friends who are still firefighters, and if people ask me, I say it's a great career. But I was ready to move on, just like I was ready to move on from being an attorney. So I truly, have taken some of these experiences. I feel very fortunate to have been able to experience that and work with some great people. And, the more you just learn about different people and different lifestyles, you realize we're all out here for the same thing. We're just trying to make a better life for ourselves. We're trying to connect.
That's
with people.
All. And experience.
Huge in that, the connection with people and shared experiences.
It's a small world, man.
Wine, cannabis. That's truly how I view it. So
there's so many avenues there. And when you go back to you talking about the kids, and this is another aspect of cannabis that I think is fucking amazing, is to have fathers like yourself that are proud of what you're doing and not having to hide what you're doing. And as they grow, you get to understand that. I mean, before I was in this, I was in the flooring industry for 16, 17 years. And then I owned a couple restaurants and, blah, 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 coffee. But I can remember, I was never like the big of the big, but, when you get into the kids, and my daughter one year, and I think she was probably like 13, and she's now I think 25 or 26, and I remember she's watching this show on TV. I think it was The Hills or one of those where these fucking kids are getting everything handed to them. They're all, she's just, one of the girls turned 16 and fucking dad got her like a $150,000 car, and they're living in this fucking mansion in Laguna Beach or whatever it is, And I just remember I was sitting there, my daughter was watching this, and she turned around and looked at me, and she looked at me like, you are the biggest piece of shit. I was almost like, what did I do? And the look was like, look at this, look at, she's getting a $150,000 car. What are you doing? And it's like, that's what, there's times like that you'll have in your life where you will understand how you need to move and what I felt good about that because I wasn't portraying anything to my kids that I wasn't in that way. And for them to understand, and to this day, I mean, my daughter, my son, they run Michigan, most amazing kids in the world. They don't get anything given to them. There's no fucking breaks. You work. My oldest son, Cody, and myself, it's like we work our ass off, and nobody's going to get on this train and you get a free ride. I don't get a free ride, so nobody else is. And I think it's important, and now understanding the value for your kids to understand what it is that you do and that you work your ass off. It's just doing something that you really like and enjoy. That's important for them to see and understand.
Nothing is more humbling as a person, and this doesn't happen enough in the age of social media. Everybody's putting like their fucking best life on there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Glamorous shit. But what you don't see is people struggling, and there's nothing, I got to see it as a firefighter, and I would constantly come home and, you'd say, hey, like, man, I don't have a pool. Well, guess what? That person I was just at their house, they don't have food.
Right.
Like they're fighting to survive every day, and nothing makes you appreciate what you have more than seeing some, I actually drove before our facility opened, because obviously minors aren't allowed to be at facilities, and not that I would bring my daughters here anyway, but being that young, but I drove my daughters. They said they wanted to see the construction project Daddy was working on. And one of my friends, Tom, was the builder. And so they call him Uncle Tom. I want to see what Uncle Tom's building for you, Dad. And so I drove them, and, we're in not the nicest part of Mesa,
right?
To be honest with you, and this is the area of town I used to work in. I mean, the station I worked at is right down the street from our cultivation facility, coincidentally. And so we were driving, and my daughter, Casey, the older one, very perceptive and smart. And she said, Daddy, this is like, these are not nice. These houses are not nice. Like, things are dirty. And I said, well, Casey, not everybody's as fortunate as us that they don't get to live in a nicer area. And I said, and she goes, well, what did these people do wrong? I said, They didn't do anything wrong, hun. They just don't have some of the opportunities that we have. Some people are struggling with some different things, and these are all good people too, And she was like, I really could see the impact it had on her.
Yeah.
And she came and she goes, I really like where we live. That area was scary. And I said, yeah, it's unfortunate, that you always have to be grateful. And so I make it a point when we do nice things, if we're able to go on vacation and do something nice, or they get like a nice new toy or something, I say, hey, remember, always think, not everybody gets this. So make sure you take care of your stuff and be very polite. And, you don't, and it's been that experience. And I want my kids, I didn't grow up, I grew up much more fortunate than most people, but absolutely very middle class. And again, with teacher parents, but never had to worry about if I was going to eat or anything like that. And it puts things in a whole new perspective when you get to see that. So I'm really, we all strive to have these good lifestyles for our kids and do all this kind of stuff, but I also want to make sure that they're educated and see that
it's important.
Not everybody has it like this perspective, right?
Right.
It's so important. So,
one of the things for me, way back in the day with my daughter again, when, we started growing in my house in a garage, and they had no clue.
Yeah.
Like we sectioned off an area, and I'm not talking about a giant house. I'm talking about 1,800 square foot house in a not so great neighborhood, but a nice little pocket there.
Yep.
and we sectioned off. They had no clue what was going on. But when my daughter found out, she was 17, 16, 15 or 16. I can't remember. And I then was the biggest piece of shit. I mean, like, she literally looked at me like, you're like, what are you doing? And I took that for about a year. Mm-hmm. And then one day, we started a delivery service, and we had been into the delivery service for probably about 6 months at that time. And I'm delivering to people that, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times you wanted to just cry. And my son was like, you can't keep fucking giving away the fucking weed. I'm like, I can't help it, man. Like, I felt so bad. I can't take the money. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I took my daughter one day, and I said, you know, it was almost like we were having an argument and a fight. And I said, let's go. Yeah. And I took her on some deliveries with me. And the first person I delivered to was a person that was in a coma for 4.5 months and came out of it, a motorcycle accident, and had half of his brain removed and, you know, all this stuff. And he was in a trailer over in a campground. And that was the first person that I did a delivery to. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you know, where are we going? I said, you know, I don't want to do this. And so just ride along with me for a few. Dude, we spent about a half hour with this guy, and my daughter was kind of at first like angry. And then as we were talking and I was giving him, you know, some oil. At that time we were doing syringes, and we were doing vapes and whatnot. Not our vapes, but we got in the car and she started bawling. I can remember this. And she was crying, and I was like, you know, and she said she was sorry. She didn't understand. Mm-hmm. And that was a breaking moment where she then understood, because other than that, it was pot. Yeah. She didn't smoke. Her friends didn't. She was very straight-laced. Pot. Yeah. And now my dad's fucking growing pot, and he's selling pot, and he's this. Right. That was a turning point for her. And we went to probably another 3 or 4 deliveries at that point. And that was like the beginning of that break in the relationship that I had with her, and mending things, and her understanding like, wow, I think my dad might be a little bit cool. Yeah. And that was a big moment for us, because she understood that this wasn't, there's been times, and my son doesn't even know this, and he probably won't watch this, so he won't ever hear this, but there's been so many times that I actually took my own money and brought it back because I couldn't charge the person. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those times. And I continue to do that to this day in so many different ways, but understanding that, there's a need for this. And even on my part, that mended some frustration with my daughter and myself, just for her to understand that I'm really not the dick that she thought I was big. And after that, my daughter went through what she needed to go through as far as high school and all this stuff. And then she came into the company, and she's ran stores for us. And she, you know, her, my other son, Nathan, they run Michigan, $50-60 million a year company over there. We don't even touch it. It's crazy. And, yeah, so it's like now it's just a full family adventure in this business. And dude, you're getting your feet wet. And it's hard to imagine, because I never would have guessed. I mean, even my son, which basically him and I started, he's the one that brought it to my attention. I never would have guessed that in a million years. And then never would have guessed even more so that I'd be working with all my kids in this capacity at all. And so it's kind of cool that, you know, you're in this boat, and you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. And you fast forward, you know, 15 years from now, and your daughters are sitting at desks and are, you know, working in the field and doing whatever it is. It's pretty cool.
Talk about a new age family business, huh?
It is.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
So what I was getting at was, I'm going to start another podcast that's going to be informational, just directional in the way of what it takes to be in cannabis. People need to understand that I'm big on, like, get in here. There's plenty of time. There's plenty more room than anybody could ever imagine. I don't want people to be frustrated in it. And then talking to people like yourself, if you're open to that, in offering, the struggles that you've had, and not talking about in wide scale of what you're doing, but more so like, this is what I had to go through to get into cannabis. Like it's not as bad here, but it's, these are difficult. I think giving people free information on what it takes to get into cannabis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. So you'll probably get another call from me.
I'd be happy to participate. One thing I love to do. I get a lot of people ask me about getting in the cannabis industry. I still get a lot of people asking me about like what it takes to be a lawyer. And I always tell, like, I think a lot of the parents direct their kids to me and they go, hey, you went to law school. Can you talk about like, being a lawyer and stuff? And I say, yeah, as long as you're okay with me being honest about it and the positives and negatives. And there's positives and negatives in cannabis too.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, my whole thing is like, again, I'm not looking at people as potential competitors. I'm looking at as it's a positive for the industry to get the education out there. And again, I'm very confident in us and our group. And so I go, hey, bring in more people. I want more smart people in this industry. And the other interesting thing happening here too, especially as more goes recreationally legal or adult use, and as hopefully federal will come around sometime soon, is we go, this is no different than any other manufacturing, production, and retail business. It's no different. We need people.
Right.
We just hired our inventory manager that we just hired was in charge of all the inventory for the largest, busiest Whole Foods in all of Arizona. Has never worked in the cannabis industry, but she's a fucking amazing inventory manager. It's like, hey, you can translate that skill over here. And, and she's like, well, do you guys have like benefits and this and that? Yep, we have benefits. We pay market compensation. You have like, you're like a real employee, like you would be at any company, and people don't understand yet. And she's fucking kicking ass for us. We don't have to stay within that, oh, you've been in the industry, and there's tons of benefit to that, right? To keep the industry people, but also expanding and saying, listen, like, this is like any other high growth industry at the moment. Do you want to get into this? It's going to be huge.
Listen,
I love that. I would love to be involved in that.
That's the similarities across the board is getting people to understand that. I mean, as I sit here, we have so many people that are so not industry in this, but are in. I mean, Tommy sitting behind here, he's how many years in the Navy? 20 years in the Navy. And, we've got guys downstairs, same thing, 20 years Marines. We got people in so many different other avenues of this, but then our upgrowth in the company is huge. Yeah. I mean, if you ever get a chance, if you're in San Diego coming over to our beach, make a stop. We're in Kearney Mesa. And you can see, like, literally the people that we have in here. I mean, we call ourselves the Island of Misfits. And it's just crazy. Our head of manufacturing is a guy that worked at Walmart and then also worked for roadside service, helping people on the road. Our head of distribution. Now, keep in mind, I don't know how many vans we have. I think we have 8 or 10 vans. We're throughout the state. We distribute all of our own product. I mean, we're literally to the border of Oregon down to Mexico. Like that's our thing. This is a girl that came on with us doing PADs. Yeah. She's 5 foot nothing. Yeah. Literally, she runs our distribution, everything. It's unimaginable when you look at it. And so this is cannabis. Yeah. It literally is, it's offering so many things to everybody. And as you said, just like anybody else, yeah, we're a business too. We have benefits. We have everything that anybody else has. I mean, healthcare, we got it. And it's important to have that and that understanding for 2 reasons. One is you got to have it. Employees need to have that. The other is to, hey, fuck you guys out there. We're a business just like anybody else. I pay more money in fucking tax every quarter than your company will make in the next 5 years. Right. So don't turn your nose up at it. for everything that we have, I think 260 employees throughout our, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're doing our part.
Yeah.
So we're a business. That's what I want to get across in that way of having a separate podcast that just talks about, just cannabis, the business of cannabis, where people are at, what they're doing. This is great. I love this, because it gets people to know who's behind, you know what I mean? That was what was important to us. When we could do it, it was like, let people know who we are then.
Yep.
We're nobody knew who Cody and I were. We're family. We're just like anybody else. You know what I mean? We're fucking next door neighbors in a little small subdivision. That's about to change, but regardless, it's one of those things. Like, we're just like anybody else. I've got kids. I've got, just like anybody else in this world. And it needs to be shown that, you as a father and as a husband and son and everything else that goes on, you're a normal fucking dude. And, maybe in some ways you're not, but so what? You know what I mean? We're still just people trying to achieve, and I don't think we're doing a bad job at it. We could always be doing better, but nonetheless, I mean, look at what you're doing. I mean, you got 50 employees now, dude. In 3 years, you're gonna have
200 next year.
That's what I mean.
Sure. Yeah.
You're not sitting back here going, "Oh no, you know what? I'm going to have this much money in my pot. This is what I'm going to do." You're talking about how many employees you like. First thing you said is, no, there's no talk about you making, 50 million a year and, next year we're going to be doing 200 million a year. No, it's like next year we're going to have 150, 200, 300 employees.
Yeah.
Back in my day of what I've done, I'd be like, that's a big fucking headache. Nowadays we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
It's like everybody goes, yeah, we're going to have this many employees. We're hiring. We're not firing. You know what I mean? And we're, just like anybody else. Some people stay, some people go. I mean, it is what it is, but we're just a business. So, Michael, we got to this point. What is cannabis doing for you?
Cannabis, for me, it's doing a couple things. So first of all, it's keeping a roof over my family's head and putting food in their mouth, which is awesome. It's completely, on a personal standpoint, it's reinvigorated me, and it truly the first job that I can say that I really love coming to work every day, which is amazing. It took me, this long to find it, and I'm glad it didn't take me longer.
Right.
The other thing it's doing for me, from a personal health and wellness standpoint, helping the aches and pains. It's helping me with, everybody's got their own demons, their own things that stress them out. It decompresses me. I truly feel like it makes me a better person. I do have, I have some family members who are dealing with some health ailments right now that I'm trying to encourage to get familiar with or comfortable with cannabis. And then I think the most important thing it's doing for me is something that I love so much about my role as CEO of this company, as we talked about the employees, is I feel very proud of us as a group that we are providing a life for 50 employees and their family, one of which is me. And that's an amazing thing. I've never, when I had a law office and when I was involved, I was never the owner of the business, and I never had employees other than myself and maybe one other person who was essentially a partner.
Right.
Now we have actual employees who rely on us, and it's a huge responsibility, but it's a responsibility that I look forward to every day, because I feel like that's the way I'm now giving back, is I'm helping other people achieve their goals and their dreams. That's one of the things that I love the most about being a business owner in a business that has a lot of employees, is I have people talk to me and say, hey, you've done, this has been life-changing for me to come to that company. No amount of money is going to replace that.
Right.
I mean, look, everybody wants to make money. I tell people all the time, hey, I want to make a shitload of money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not some altruistic, I'm out here for the world only. So don't get me wrong, but you can't put a value on that. And I don't think I could have ever understood that until I'm in this point in my life where we have that many people relying on the company, and patients contacting us, talking about how our medicine is helping them in their lives, and other businesses talking about how we've helped them by providing them products. So you know, that's a whole bunch of shit that cannabis is doing for me, but it's been an amazing whirlwind of 2 years for me, and I only looking forward positively to what's coming. We have such a great team here, and we're going to be making a big impact here in Arizona. So I'm looking forward for you to come out here, and hopefully you're processing some of our material as well.
You tell me when you're available, and I'll come out. I'd love to come check it out.
Man, hit me up, and we'll bring you out.
I'm out there. I'm out there a lot. So
awesome.
And it's a quick plane ride for me.
I truly live at this facility right now, 7 days a week. So if you want to come by, man, you shoot me a text, and I'm probably gonna fucking be here. So.
No, and it's the same thing here, unless I'm over there.
Yep.
Amazing, dude. Seriously. I mean, I get a piece of paper in front of me. You know, we get a little chat about who you are, but it never does any justice until you're actually sitting here talking about it. And it sucks. You know, it is this. We're doing this camera shit. At some point, it'll be different again. Yep. But all I can say, man, is good job, good luck. I mean, 2 years. You guys are just beginning. Long ways to go. And that feeling that you're talking about, regardless of whatever's happening, the ability to do what you do and what your team is doing, and have that type of a family where that feeling that you're getting when you're helping people, it's huge. It doesn't. I mean, I can tell you after this many years, and the years that I've been in business, it doesn't go away. And the responsibility, it's a big responsibility. Like, to understand that the decisions that you make on a daily basis affect everybody.
Yeah.
And that you respect that. That's the biggest thing that you could ever have, and not blow it. And I can see, like, you're holding, and that's for me. That's me. That's my son. Like, we talk offline, and we understand this. And it was huge for me with my son to get him, to understand the responsibility. You have 10 people working, you have 20 people working, now you're over 200 people. These are people that rely on you.
Absolutely.
And not just in the way of, like, you give them a paycheck every day, but the fact of the matter is that the decisions that you make are going to affect everybody in this company.
Yep.
And, we love it, man. And it's great. I mean, and I love to be able to walk through the buildings and whatnot, and have that feeling and understanding that everybody is, nobody's ever 100% happy.
Yeah.
There's reality in that, but we do our best. You know what I mean? Santa Claus may not be here for a lot of people, but he's coming to town tomorrow. It sucks, but we have so many people that are just like, what are we doing? We got kids that aren't going to have Santa Claus. We're going to have that gap. We said, listen, Santa Claus is coming. He's going to be here tomorrow. Bring your kids. They're not in the facility, but we have a huge outside area.
That's awesome.
And so just keep doing what you're doing. You guys are going to have so much fun. And I'm telling you, I'm that guy that when you say, come over, I'll be over.
Fucking come over, man.
No, I really will.
I don't say anything. I don't say anything I don't mean. When you get to know me, you'll understand that. We have a company, to go back to what you're saying, we have kind of a company saying when we have meetings, and I talk about all the time, I say, hey, work hard, have fun, do the right thing. That's my professional slogan that I use with the employees. And then when we have to talk about, like, some other uncomfortable stuff, stuff that happens in facilities of 50 people, like cleaning up after yourself in the bathroom, emptying the dishwasher, doing all this kind of stuff, right? The other thing that I say, and I think a lot of people could stand to hear this in their life, personally, professionally, or whatever, is don't be a piece of shit. Okay. Like, don't be that fucking guy. Like, you hear people say, be kind, whatever. There's different, like I said, I'm an F bomber. My mom's going to hate to hear this if she listens to this, but I always say, well, listen, just don't be a piece of shit. I mean, that if you come down to that, if you're making a decision and that's your analysis point, you're going to come out okay if you just make the decision that doesn't make you a piece of shit most of the time. Right. And so that's what, like, you try to run that business, and that goes hand in hand with running the business with the employees. You go, listen, you can always make more money. You can squeeze an extra 10 cents out of whatever. How is that affecting your employees, your customers, whatever?
Right.
Don't be a piece of shit. So,
well, guess what? And this will be verified. There's things that I pick up as I go along, and there's little slogans or whatever, and I'm that guy that'll use them. Yeah. And so I'm going to take that one from you. We have our meetings every Monday. Tommy's the only one that will know that that's coming, but that's it.
Hey, Tommy, make sure he gives me attribution for the quote, man.
Don't worry, I'm fucking good with that too.
Yeah,
but we'll credit you.
Thank you.
But I'm telling you this, that is it. Like, those are things, like little things like that. When you say it, it means something different. You know what I mean? You say, like, don't be a piece of shit, but now it's in a different way that you can do in a group setting, and just like, don't be a piece of shit.
Right.
That's all.
Simple.
Peace. Everybody go to work. Have a great day.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be a piece of shit. Everybody. Yeah. And if you fucking say anything to anybody that it's coming, then you're a piece of shit. No, and that's the truth. It's like, go away good. Don't be a piece of shit.
Yep, exactly.
Well, that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna close this one out on the words of Michael O'Brien. Don't be a piece of shit.
I'm a quote guy. If that's the quote I'm known for, if that's the one I have to be known for,
you will be
I'll
here.
wear that one all day.
You
man.
will be
I'll
here.
wear that one, for sure. Don't be a piece of shit.
That one will go on the. We don't have a chalkboard. Actually, we do. Over here. That'll go. That quote will go on. Michael O'Brien, in quotations. Don't be a piece of shit. Dude, great time. This is not the last. I promise. Sure. And I would love to come to you on the business side of it. We get that opportunity, and I'll be over there.
Absolutely.
And actually, I'll tell you this. I'm going to be over there for Christmas and New Year's.
I'll be here.
I'll figure out, get your number and whatever else, but
absolutely,
we're going to link up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank
you. The opportunity to get our company's name out there. So, again, for everyone listening out there, check out @Sonoran Roots Cannabis on Instagram. That's where we do most of our posts. And thank you guys again to the whole crew over at PV Unfiltered. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. And once again, this is free. Like and subscribe. There's a thing over here. I think it's over here. Yeah, like and subscribe. I got to look this way because there's a camera here, and this is like a main camera. So, and yeah, push it out to everybody, because it is. Listen, I don't care what your kids say, your wife says, anybody in my family, we're fucking cool.
Hell yeah.
As long as we believe that, that's all that matters. Honestly.
That's right. That's all that matters. To make your own reality,
right? Listen, in a few hours, I'll be home doing fucking laundry and dishes.
Yeah, same here, man. All right. Well, thank you again.
All right, cool.
I really appreciate it. And we'll be in touch soon.
You got it. PV Unfiltered.